Now before we get into the video, I do want to say a massive thank you to today's video sponsors, and once again that is jerseyfifa.com. They really do help keep the content on this channel going, and they even sent me a free shirt which you can see on screen here. And as you can see, I got the new Manchester United home kit, and genuinely the kit really is top quality. I highly recommend their product. So make sure to get in a link in the description down below, and now if you use code JerseyFifa at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. You get a great football shirt, and you help support the channel, which I really do appreciate massively. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we might have a little bit of a longer video, because today I want to look at how Manchester United have been improving in several departments under Ten Hag. But to do that, I want to kind of break it up into three different spells, what we've seen from Ten Hag at Manchester United so far. We kind of have that first spell where United weren't doing very well, they were losing games and kind of getting a little bit embarrassed. We then had that spell where United still weren't playing great football but were getting results, and now we've got this current spell where things do look like they're heading in the right direction, and United are getting there. But like I said, to kind of track the progress, we need to look at where it started and the early issues that Ten Hag faced. Because during the opening weeks of the season, Manchester United were not very good. So during the early weeks of the season, one of the big issues that Manchester United faced was they just weren't used to playing the football that Ten Hag wanted of them. For several years now, United have very much been a transitioning team under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. A team that would kind of sit off, absorb the pressure, have that muck-fred midfield trying to win the ball back, and then counter-attack with the pace of Marcus Rashford and the passing of Bruno Fernandes. We know that isn't how Ten Hag wants to play. So what Ten Hag tried to do straight away was getting United playing a different brand of football, and trying to play their way out from the back, and quite simply, these United players at the time, at the start of the season, weren't ready for it. Ten Hag arguably got it a little bit wrong, but he was trying to implement his style, but United simply weren't ready for it, and as a result, it led to several situations in areas like this, where United would lose the ball horribly, especially in that Brentford game where it was actually Eriksen dropping deep. United were losing the ball in these deep areas far too easily. Another issue that they had was just no threat going forward. Because Manchester United couldn't get through this first phase, they couldn't get higher up the pitch and cause any problems at all, and their rank in terms of shots per 90 minutes, shots on target, chances created, were actually really poor during those opening 3 or 4 games of the season, and it just meant that on the ball, United had little to no threat. As a result of this, it meant that there were games where United were pushing men forward, trying to commit to the attack, trying to push players forward, trying to make something happen. Because United at the time didn't have the ability to break down a low block, teams that would sit off even, it meant that United could then get counter-attacked far too easily. And transitioning against Manchester United during the opening couple of weeks of the season was really far too easy, and that wasn't the only defensive problem that they had. In general, United just didn't play with enough intensity off the ball. Players like Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho, Cristiano Ronaldo weren't pressing, but they also weren't tracking either. And what this means is that it's so easy for the opposition to progress the ball forward, through the lines, and get at the defence. And that has been a problem at Manchester United for several years now. Too easy to get the ball from the back and just play through Manchester United, and especially through the midfield, where this dynamic just wasn't really working. And teams were getting at Manchester United. De Gea was in poor form, making mistakes. The centre-backs weren't great. I believe Harry Maguire was in the team at the time as well. The full-backs were doing okay, but nothing special. United were just really easy to beat. Now, at this point, Ten Hag deserves a little bit of credit for what he done next. He realised this Manchester United team at that moment in time was not good enough at playing with the football. United weren't good enough at controlling possession, playing their way out under pressure and then creating chances, and also they weren't good enough defensively, and also arguably weren't fit enough to play a high pressing game. So Ten Hag changed things, and what he done for a brief spell for probably about 6 to 7 weeks was he told his team to sit off a little bit. We're not going to press high, we're going to sit off and be compact. Now, I'm not talking about sitting off how they were in the first couple of games of the season, because there was now a bit more intensity to the way that they defended. That we all saw that story about the run that the Manchester United players had to do with Ten Hag after the Brentford game. People criticised it, but I think it got the message across. Manchester United weren't working hard enough. Ten Hag changed that, and he changed his approach in general. And he got United defending much deeper, much more compact. He brought Tyrell Malacia into the team, who is a more aggressive defender than Luke Shaw. Lisandro Martinez was in now, Varane was in, and McTominay was in good form in midfield. And what this done was it made United hard to beat. Were they playing great football? No. But against the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, we saw against Leicester, Southampton, United now weren't playing particularly expansive football. But they were looking much better defensively, and it looked like now the team was working for each other, working a bit harder. So that is the first thing that Ten Hag improved. He got Manchester United players playing for each other again. If you kind of look back to last season, this wasn't a team at all. The players were so disconnected from each other, disconnected from the fans. So that's the first thing that Ten Hag done. He made Manchester United work for each other again and made them hard to beat. Now, one of the things that actually helped Ten Hag during this spell was what his predecessors had done. The work that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had done at Manchester United, because these United players were kind of used to playing in this way. So if United could get men behind the ball, the likes of McTominay, Eriksen in midfield, Lisandro Martinez and Rafa Varane started building a partnership, United were happy to kind of sit and defend in these areas and then hit on the counter-attack. And we saw several games where we would see quick transitions, Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes playing between the lines, and then Marcus Rashford getting in behind. United looked suddenly really good in transition, and what that done, it just kind of had a knock-on effect psychologically on the opposition. Teams started to go, maybe we can't press them like we did during the opening couple of weeks of the season, because if we do, we're going to get exposed in behind by Marcus Rashford. Because they've got quality ball players now who can play the ball through the lines, Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes. Teams started to think maybe we can't push quite as high up the pitch as what we were before. They're just too quick. They're too good in transition, so we can't do it. And this is where United now started to change. They were defending better, and also looking good on the transition, which forced teams to sit off slightly. But there was one issue, and there was one turning point. The game against Manchester City, where this game plan just didn't work. Ten Hag probably got it wrong in that game. Players like Christian Eriksen, they're not set up to play defensive football, defensive-minded transitioning football in a double pivot against a team like Manchester City. Manchester City are too good with their movements. They're too good in the half spaces, and it just didn't work for Manchester United. They got smashed, but luckily the work done in the weeks before had kind of put them in a position where now United were ready to make that transition. From a team that is hard to beat and looking to play transitioning football, to a team that can be a bit more dangerous. Now, a lot of the reason that United were now able to play this kind of new brand of football, take this next step, was because the teams that were again wary of the threat in behind. So they basically went, okay, we're just going to sit off a little bit. We're not going to press you as intensely as what we were before. And that is what we've seen in the past 6 weeks. Teams aren't really pressurising Manchester United. In the past few seasons, you think the amount of times this United team has lost the ball in this sort of area here. United aren't doing that anymore. Players like Lisandro Martinez, just excellent on the ball. And also, two big changes at the back. Casemiro coming into the team for McTominay, and Luke Shaw, if I can find him, coming back into the team. Tyrone Malacia done his job when United needed to play that aggressive defensive approach, but Ten Hag realised Manchester United need to be better on the ball. That is what both Luke Shaw and Casemiro bring to this team, and suddenly United are now better at playing out from the back, simply because they have better ball players. And what it's done is now given United a foundation from where they can build the ball basically, build possession and move forward. Teams aren't pressing them as intensely as what they were. We've seen Spurs sit off a little bit at times, we've seen Chelsea sit off a little bit at times. Teams are worried about what Manchester United have going in behind. And what happens when you put that bit of doubt in someone's mind? They sit off and let you have the ball, and that is exactly what Ten Hag wants. So it took a couple of months, but now Manchester United are able to dominate possession. As a result of not being pressed as much, United have found it easier to get further forward and move the ball to the middle third from where they look to take control. From here, there's kind of two different main shapes that Manchester United look to use. One of which is a 2-3-5 shape, a shape which has been used by most of the big teams over the past 5 years or so, especially Manchester City. We see Bruno Fernandes and Christian Eriksen pushing further forward, Casemiro holding the solo pivot by himself, and the fullbacks playing narrower. Now, again, this is massively helped by the fact that Casemiro and Luke Shaw have come back into the team. Luke Shaw in particular is genuinely a very technically gifted player. Things like his first touch, his ball control, but then also his passing, his progressive passing, extremely underrated. Actually criminally underrated. He is extremely good on the ball. And then the quality of Casemiro, I think we all underestimated how good he was going to be on the ball, but also he is that good defensively that United can play him as a solo pivot in possession. Again, United haven't had the players where they've been able to do that in the past few seasons. Fred and McTominay had to be together. Pogba couldn't do it. Nemanja Matic could, but just didn't really have the legs to do it. Casemiro is doing it brilliantly, and what it allows United to do is push a lot more players further forward. But also there is another shape as well that they've been using, and I think that's important. That Manchester United have a few different shapes. This tends to be the shape in those slightly tighter games. The games where United are expecting a bit more of a difficult game, basically. The likes of Spurs, the likes of Chelsea, where they're perhaps even more wary of the threat on the counter-attack of the opposition. But in games where United are really able to dominate, and those games where you get 60-65% of the ball, United have another shape that they can use. And it comes from pushing the fullbacks further forward, particularly Luke Shaw down the left-hand side, And it comes from dropping Christian Eriksen a little bit deeper in here. And what we now see is a 3-1-6 sort of shape being created. The opposition sitting off in their own defensive areas, and Manchester United now pushing men much higher up the pitch. When you push this many players up the pitch, it's always difficult for the opposition just because they simply have so many players that they have to mark. As a result, they have to drop players deeper. They can't leave your front line of 6 to do what they want, outnumbering your own back 4, so they have to drop players deeper. And this is where United are now in a spell where they are taking control of football matches, and it is good to see. This is kind of the point where Manchester United are at now. They're at a point where they are getting much better at dominating games. Now, is it always the case? No. For example, the West Ham game, the tempo wasn't right, but Manchester United are getting there. The next step is to now become a team that create more chances. But even still, they are getting there, and we're seeing steps in the right direction, and we can just compare it to what we saw earlier in the season. Earlier in the season, or the first 4 Premier League games of the season, Manchester United were 12th for possession. The last 4 Premier League games before the West Ham game, they're now 4th. That's a massive upgrade. Passes ending in the final third, they've gone from 12th to 2nd. Shots on target, 12th to 2nd. Total shots, 16th to 2nd. And possession won in the final third, 18th to 2nd. Manchester United are becoming a lot better at controlling games. And it's because of being able to push more men further forward. So they're controlling the ball, but then if they do lose the ball, they have the players in those high positions. They now have a new intensity to win the ball back. And the counter press has been very, very impressive. And it stops teams from getting out, it stops your defence getting exposed, and it allows Manchester United much more attacking threat. And in general, I think Ten Hag has been doing a really, really good job. The job that this guy has done in such a short amount of time is brilliant. He's had issues, a lack of backing at times in the transfer window, and then the players he did want, he got a little bit late. A lot of pressure on those signings, a lot of criticism for those signings coming from being players he's worked with previously, and then the whole Ronaldo situation, Martial constantly injured. It hasn't been ideal, he hasn't been given the easiest circumstances. But all round he's improved the team. Like I said, we can see these forward numbers here, he's improved the team, but then defensively as well, Manchester United are just so much better. Just read through this stat here from United Arena, who you have to follow on Twitter. For me, the best analysis account anywhere on the internet. He's absolutely incredible. But just look at the difference in those numbers. You can read through it for yourself. It just highlights how much Manchester United are improving. But perhaps the most important thing that he's done is he's got this team playing together again. It feels like a team. It's a team that takes pride in what they do. Whether it's defensive actions, they're all celebrating. Scoring, the team celebrating together. It just feels like much more of a team than what it was before. And that was maybe the biggest job that Ten Hag had on his hands, because the dressing room was a mess. For someone like Marcus Rashford, who, as we all sing, is Manc born and bred, for him to have been considering leaving Manchester United, there must have been something wrong. Something really bad. Ten Hag has massively managed to address that. Is it perfect? Probably not. But it's moving in the right direction. United are improving defensively. They're improving going forward. They are getting there. Like I said, of course there is still room for improvement. This is still very early in the project. Some of these players just aren't the right players for the system. Some of the time the tempo is wrong. Some of the time the decisions in the final third are wrong. Quite often actually. But United are getting there. United are improving. And Ten Hag deserves so much credit for it. But yeah, that's all I've got to say on it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In a few days' time I might do another video looking at how United can improve further still. So let me know if you want to see that. But yeah. Let me know what you think of the job that Erik Ten Hag has been doing at Manchester United. For me, he's dealt with the media criticism, the media pressure extremely well. He's united the dressing room and got the players playing much better. He's shown tactical flexibility through different spells of the season already, which is actually really impressive this early in the season. And he's just got me enjoying watching Manchester United again, which hasn't been the case for a while. So yeah. Ten Hag's doing a great job. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video. And as always, I will see you in the next one.